So we'll move swiftly on to me. Right, my lightning talk is about microlearning, as you can see from the screen. I found this is a learning technique that I've found this year, and it's already proved to help me tremendously. And I'll talk through why. Is anyone timing, by the way? Yeah, no, I've already found that this method of learning is ideal for me, and I'll explain why over the course of this presentation. So first off, let's talk a little about me. This is me here. I'm this chap here. I'm actually wearing this shirt tonight as well. Just so you know, this is me. I'm one of those people that if I'm not learning anything, I tend to feel as though I'm stuck. I'm in a rut. I'm not progressing. I just need to be learning things all the time. And if I don't, I don't get depressed, but I just feel like I can do more. This isn't me. I can get on and do more. And I also have the attention span of a 5-year-old. Anyone who follows me on Twitter will know that I'm terrible at replying to direct messages, emails and at replies. I'm terrible, and I know I'm terrible because I'm aware that I'm doing it. It's not because I'm being rude, it's because I will start writing you a reply, and then a car will honk its horn outside and I'll just forget, and that's my problem. Which is why I love learning new things, but I also have a terrible time trying to learn new things because I can't sit down for long periods of time and commit a large amount of my time to learning and, say, reading a book. I'll move on to that a tiny bit later. And I'm also one of these people that if I want to learn something about a topic, if someone says, hey you, learn about performance testing. If I don't want to learn about performance testing, I won't learn about performance testing. But if I want to learn about performance testing, I will do everything I can to try and learn about performance testing. And I won't do anything else until I think I know as much as I can about performance testing. And I also believe that education is a personal thing. It shouldn't be managed by a corporation. And I'm covering that in later slides. But
I just ask, is education incorrectly spelled on purpose, just to cap this out?
It's what it's.
That was a new form of thinking called deduction. That's a new word. Deduction is very personal to you. Yeah. No one else does it.
I should have learned that better. Yeah. We're talking from software testers. Anyway, I believe deduction is a personal thing. It shouldn't be managed by a corporation. I don't believe a corporation should tell you what you should and shouldn't learn. So ways we learn now. I won't run through all of these, but ways we can learn. We can go on courses, books, workshops, yada yada yada. The thing about courses is courses tend to run over 3 or 4 days, and they take up all of your. So we've had the rapid software testing course the last 3 days, and it's meant all of our test team downing tools and learning for 3 days, which we can do, but it's not something we do every week or every month. It's something we do once a year, once every couple of years, and it's not too costly in terms of work we're losing and that kind of thing. And books. I mentioned to someone earlier that I have quite a few books, however, I don't read any of them. I buy them with good intentions of reading them, but I go, oh yeah, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to read this book, and then again a car will honk its horn outside, or something, and I just don't read them. I'd love to. I envy people that can sit and read a book. I just can't. And there's all these other things. The list can go on. I'm sure you can think of others. I'm sure you can think of loads of other ways you can learn. This is just a list I came up at 2 o'clock this morning while I couldn't sleep. But if we have all these ways to learn, why don't we learn? Why don't we do all of those all of the time? Which would be great if we could. However, we are never short of reasons why we can't learn. I've given you loads already of why I can't learn. Some of them I've heard is, I'm too tired, I get home and I'm too tired. I don't want to sit and learn. I don't want to sit and go through a book. I'm just too tired. It's dark outside. I'm trying to go outside and jog, but it's dark outside. There's people and dogs and it's just dark. I have a headache. I don't want to do it tonight. I have a headache. I don't want to do it. My foot hurts again with the running. I'm too busy. I'm very important. I'm already an expert on that subject. There are wolves after me. Again, the list goes on. You're never short of reasons why we can't learn. How am I doing for time? 1 minute. Okay, I'll let through these. So, what can we do if we could eliminate reasons why we can't learn? What can we do? And one of the ways I've found with my short attention span and my inability to sit and read, I found this way called microlearning, which is taking a subject or a post or a book or anything you can find and taking 15 minutes out of your day, booking me in at the end of the day. I do it when I get to work. I sit and have my breakfast while I read blog posts. I tend to save them up for the morning. So while I'm eating my breakfast, sorry I shouldn't admit to this, but I sit and read blog posts.
I do the same.
Okay. I sit and read blog posts, and 15 minutes for me is just about enough time for my short attention span to stay focused and learn something. I still know that I'm learning something, and I'm doing this every day. 15 times 7, or 15 times 5, if you just want to do it during work hours. I'm over my time now, aren't I? I'll get rid of it. Everyone can spare, say, 15 minutes a day. If you just do it during work hours, which I don't tend to, I tend to do it at the weekends as well. It's not much in terms of your day, but over the course of the week, my maths is terrible. 15 times 5 is an hour and 15 minutes. So an hour and 15 minutes a week is still, that's pretty substantial. That's an hour and 15 minutes out of your week that you've sat and learned something. But you've done it in 15 minutes. And I find this is a brilliant way to sit and learn. And you're taking control of your own learning. You are doing this. You have made the effort to say, right, I'm going to learn this. And I've said 15 minutes. That's kind of a rough timeline. If you want to sit and, if you've got half an hour spare, use half an hour. If you've got 5 minutes spare, use 5 minutes. It's not set in stone. It's aimed at you. And I read a lot of blog posts, follow people on Twitter, I read white papers. I talk to my colleagues about what they do and how it relates to what I do. And I can learn that way. I want to, instead of showing you and everyone's going, oh, Adam, this is the weird idea you've come up with. It's not. Has anyone heard of GCSE Bite-Sized? Yeah, I learned more from GCSE Bite-Sized than I did from sitting in school. It was only 3 in the morning. That's probably why I didn't focus at school. But I learned more from watching these 10-minute, 15-minute programs than I did actually sitting in a classroom listening to someone rattle on about longshore drift. I learned more from these snippets, crammed bits of education, rather than sitting to listen to someone waffle on about longshore drift and economic splits and blah 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 blah. So it isn't just an idea that's completely new and random and won't work. It's actually being used by quite a lot of students all over the country. So people can learn that way. I've learned that way, and I do recommend, if you don't have time, you will have 15 minutes, 5 minutes of your day to sit and learn. And I know I've gone over my 5 minutes.
What have you learned from that?
I've learned to spell check my presentations. And I've also learned to look up when I stand up, because I wound my head on the corner of the telly earlier. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, what makes you think that learning is something that only happens in a 15-minute segment? Why don't you just instead think of yourself as every waking moment you're learning? I think you are learning all the time and you're not giving yourself credit for learning.
It's true, it's true. We don't stop learning. Just walking down, if you walk down the road here, you will learn that it's a dark street, I should be walking down here. you're always learning.
All you have to do is muse about what happens and you're learning. Don't restrict the concept of learning to just some authority is giving me information that I'm forcing into my head.
Would you say that that's focused learning though, as opposed to the learning that you're getting to?
Well, whether it's focused learning or unfocused
Is it
learning or
making
whatever.
an active decision to focus on reading something for 15 minutes, not just absorbing learning?
Yeah, but don't speak as if just absorbing or just reflecting on your life is not learning. I mean, a lot of the work that I do that I get paid for comes from musing about things, not studying. I didn't create my class for which I made my whole living. I didn't create my class by reading a textbook and then somehow jiggling around in my head and then spitting it out into slides. It's through musing and trying things and getting into conversations with people and all that stuff, things that I do while procrastinating. You procrastinate all the time, and I'll bet you don't give yourself credit. You think, I'm procrastinating instead of learning.
Is that learning, or is that having ideas and forming your own opinions?
That is learning, I would say.
Okay.
If you say that learning is only what teachers call learning, then I think you're looking at life in black and white instead of color.
So pink.
Absolutely, and I learned something new about hair color today, that it can stave off illness, and that's really funny, and I'm going to tell a lot of people that. And I didn't set out to learn that, I didn't even try to learn that. It's just such a remarkable thing, a remarkable connection for someone to make.
I'm taking something away today.
That's wonderful. I'm saying this because I wrote a whole book on this subject, on the subject of being a distracted learner. And I wrote a book on that subject, and every time I hear someone who goes, oh, I'm short attention span, as if it's a bad thing, and oh, I don't read books, as if that's a bad thing. I also have like 3,000 books, and most of them I haven't read.
I have your book in my bag.
You haven't read it yet?
I haven't.
Just take 15 minutes to get the part about how you don't have to read books in order to be learning, and you'll feel a lot better.
Adam, do you find it easier to focus on one thing throughout the week, or do you vary it around, say, 50 minutes on Twitter one day, 15 minutes in a book the next day?
I spend a lot of time on Twitter.
Not while you're at work, though, right?
Yeah. I
Yes.
tend to vary the subject. It depends, because I tend to go, oh, today this is what I want to learn about. This is what I must learn. And then the next day I think, well, I don't want to learn about that anymore. I've heard someone's mentioned something that's made me go, oh, I don't know anything about this. I want to learn about it. So I'll learn something else. We come back to it the next day. I'm not saying I can learn everything about it in 15 minutes. I'm making the effort of 15 minutes to go, oh, I'm going to learn something about that.
How do you know whether you've learned something successfully?
Maybe try explaining something you've learned.
And you have the same
What does that mean? It's a crazy answer. What does that mean?
Not usually. I don't tend to have a theme, just things.
Yes, one topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally read a lot of blogs.
Yeah.
I read a lot of books and stuff like that. But unless that time translates into tangible results,
Does it have
amount to anything?
Does it have to have a result other than the satisfaction of you knowing you've learned something? Does it?
What have you?
I think I have, which I think is satisfaction enough.
I'll answer the question for you so you're not beat up by these guys. The way you know that you've learned something successfully is the feeling of power and freedom you get when you are able to cope with new situations, relate to new situations, connect ideas in your head, make explanations where you realize a few years before you had trouble doing that. And so I read about play fighting in rats and research about that the other day, and now I'm able to defend the concept of play better than I could defend it a week ago with that new idea. And that's success to me. Okay, now I could do that better, or someone who wrote the book could say, you've remembered it all wrong, and then I'll go, oops, notes and I'll have to study it again. So things could happen that could convince me that I didn't learn it, very well. But one thing that's a really good heuristic, I think, is the feeling of power and confidence that comes from having a command of ideas.